Hi, well, I'm going to have a little look at my year this year, 2014. Been a really good year for me. Really happy with how it's gone. I think the first thing I always do around this time of year is look forward to the next year. I like to try and plan my matches, plan what's coming, set myself a few targets. You can't be too specific with your targets because it's very difficult to target some events. Year started off well, January, February time. You know, that sort of time of year for me is on the Staney. So had a lovely run on the Staney last year, and finished up third individual in the league, and was second in the teams of three with my partners Matt Godfrey and Tom Scully. So that was nice. I mean, I've been fortunate enough to win that individual league a couple of times, so always like to win, but you know, I know that I was very close, and that's just the way it went. So I really enjoyed that one. Love my Bloodworm and Joker fishing. I am running those academies in January and February next year, so if you get a chance, come down and have a go, because what a fantastic way of fishing that is for bites at this time of year. Then we moved on to the Census Challenge Final. Census Challenge Final is an event that really appeals to me. Been ever so kind to me the two previous years. I've won it individually both times. We'd qualified for the final in France a year before, so I was really looking forward to it. And this year they put it on the River at March, which was always going to be tricky because of the time of year. But it was I felt it was a worthwhile gamble because there could have been some good fishing on offer. Unfortunately, it didn't quite happen, and the fishing was quite poor. But there was still some fish to be caught. And as always, I felt the better teams ended up at the top, and we were really fortunate. We finished third. I think we tied for second on points and then just missed out coming third. I had a great chance at the individual again, and I felt I made a little mistake there. We'd been cupping our bait in because we'd been taking it steady, and the section I drew fished a little bit better, and because I didn't ball it in, I just missed out on some fish at the start, and it made me fall down in the section a little bit and cost me winning the individual 3 years running, which in my opinion would have been absolutely great. But just to be in with a chance, because I had a great result first day, was nice. The team, obviously we qualified for France, so that was a great month without a shadow of a doubt. As we moved into April, start looking at things like White Acres, started looking at things like Maven Match Thises, Fishermanias where that happens, and I like to do a bit of that in April-May time. There's no river fishing, which is my first love, but you know, I haven't got any international events at that time of year. So I went to White Acres, had a great time at White Acres, I can't remember if I came 6th or 7th, but I was definitely framed in the top 10 at the Bait Tech Festival, which is the only one I did. Really enjoyed going on that, and not fishing with pellets, which was something a bit different. So I always like to frame in those if I can. I only go on 2 a year, don't do any more than that like a few others, but you know, I've been very fortunate. I must be drawing all right because I've had a constant period in the top 10 in my 2 that I do, so I'm really happy with that. That's one of my little goals, to keep that going. If I can sneak a top 10 in the year at White Acres, I'm always happy with that. Moving on to the match qualifiers, the second qualifier I fished at Decoy Lakes. I couldn't believe my luck when I won the match with £134. Had a really snaggy peg, had to use really strong elastic. That was really interesting. Big learning lesson there, that was. Got to be prepared for those sorts of pegs, because if the fish are there and you get them out, you will qualify for these big events. So to qualify for a big money final, when you're talking about winning a 130 peg match, which is very difficult to do. So I was over the moon to win that, and that led on to a 150 peg qualifier at the Oaks Fishery for Fishermania, where I came an agonising second. Literally a pound difference between myself and Steve Cook, who landed a fish after time, hooked within the match, no problem with that, landed a fish after time to beat me by a pound. So I nearly made it into the Fishermania final as well, which would have would have been a great achievement. So, but again, to come second in such a big match, I was really pleased. You know, keeping a bit of a run going, and everything was going really well. As we moved away from May, I had one massive focus in June and end of May, June, and that was the international events. Now, Barnsley had won the Fish Off the year before, and we were going to Slovenia for the World Club Champs, which backed straight onto the European Champs in Belgium. So I spent the last couple of weeks of May really preparing my gear, really getting everything ready. That is the focus of my year, international events. If I'm lucky to be involved in any, I really feel that that's a privilege, and the buzz you get from them is just unrivaled, and I'd encourage anybody to strive and aim for those sorts of things, because they are great. We were so unlucky at the World Club Championships in Slovenia. I really felt we had a fantastic team. We caught a lot of fish during the week. Come the day of the match, the whole river is controlled by a hydro plant, and they don't run the hydro plant at weekends, which we didn't know, because there isn't such an energy requirement. And as a result, the slow flow made the fishing really difficult. That was really disappointing, because it was good fishing for an hour, not so good for the second hour, and then poor towards the end. Whereas we'd found in practice, we'd devised a method to keep some fish coming in that third and fourth hour, but it was flowing, you see. So we started off really well. I think if we'd have weighed in after 2 hours, we'd have absolutely obliterated the competition. I'm absolutely sure of it. I was definitely winning my section both days after 2 hours. As were a few of the other lads were doing really well, and we would have won it. I have no doubt in my mind. But that's not what fishing's about. It's about the duration of the match. I managed to keep a few fish coming where I was, but it wasn't easy. And I finished third in my section, which I think is great in that company, and then second in my section the second day. So I was really pleased. I was to do really well for the team with a second and a third on that venue was great. And unfortunately, we were 6 points off gold, but that was so close that we didn't even get a medal. So I found that really hard to take, being so few points away from being that team to win the World Club Champs, which just hasn't happened for 30 years. So it really was hard to take. I had Dennis White running my section for me. He was absolutely fantastic. The team bond was brilliant, and I was very disappointed. So that was one of our missions, to sort of see if we could get back to that event for next year. I'll touch on that again in a bit. That took us into Belgium for the European Championships. I had a fantastic week, actually. When we got to the venue, I thought it was going to be terrible. The water was crystal clear. On the first day, we all blanked. The entire team blanked. Oh, I say blanked. We caught a few little tiny like sticklebacks and perch, but literally a few, but no proper fish at all, which is what we were fishing for bream. You weren't going to win anything with those. And then we had some good days, 4 good days. I caught some bream, did really well in practice. I was ever so pleased to be picked for the team, and I was very confident going into the match. Didn't work out brilliantly for me. There was a few fish being caught in my section, and I had to catch one. I did catch a bream, and even though I was 15th out of 25, which wasn't a very good result, I felt I could have done, I didn't feel like I did a lot wrong. I fished to the plan and I caught a lot of fish all week. I just felt that maybe the plan needed slightly adapting, and I think we learned from that from day 2. And then the lads did a fantastic job on day 2. Again, we had Will, Simon and Sean caught a bream late on. Callum had caught his 2 early. Alan had caught 2 early, or 2 in the middle. But those late bream, any one of those fish, or my fish from the day before, and we wouldn't have won, because we won European gold by a point. That was a highlight for me. That was the highlight of 2014, no doubt in my mind. To win gold with England was an incredible feeling. There was a great bond with the team. I can't tell you what a fantastic bunch of lads they are. They're honestly just a privilege to be part of it. So, you know, Des and Steve, who were fishing in the Worlds later in the year, came out as well with the management, and I just felt that that whole environment was what did it. You're talking about 1 point being the difference between gold and silver, and when after being so close in the World Club Champs, to win by that point, you know, any one of those aspects could have been the difference. And you know, to the later stages of the match where we dropped on a few things that caught us a few bream, just absolutely fantastic, absolutely fantastic. So that was the definite highlight for me. Getting back from that, there's always a bit of a low. You got to try and pick yourself up again. I sort of moved on to fishing with Barnsley immediately. We went on the Gloucester Canal for the Winter League final, where we had a stunning performance and we won. We won the Winter League final. It shows it's a team performance. I had a great day that day. One of my best matches of the year, I think. I had a section of great anglers. Weighed 7.5 kilo to win the section. That shows what a team performance we had. We did. I think I was our only section winner. But everybody else did very, very, very well, which is what a team result's all about. And we won it on the day by a point. So you're seeing a familiar pattern now. Maybe this was making up for the 6 points earlier. We won it by a point. Absolutely delighted to win the Winter League final, something I've always wanted to do. We didn't get a chance to go down and have a practice. We had some good information that we'd learnt from the past. You know, I've been fortunate enough to do well there in the past, so had Alan, so we put that into practice, and it was a great result. So I was absolutely over the moon for that. That took us on to the National on the Trent, which was the highlight of the summer for me, because I went on the Trent for a few weeks, had some great results, caught a lot of fish, really started to feel like I was learning something about the river. I've never really fished the Trent. That might come as a surprise to some of you, but I've never really fished the Trent. But I really did learn a lot fishing on the Trent, about different things. Like I said, I had a great time. I think I won money every match I fished, which, you know, I felt was a real achievement. You know, again, I really, really pleased. You know, I put a lot of work into my fishing, and I was really hoping for some results. And then on the day in the National, we had a fantastic day. We must have had some good pegs, we must have had some funny pegs, but in the end we ended up running out winners by a point. And the winners qualified for the World Club Championships next year in Slovakia, so we're back in that event. That was, you know, obviously winning a gold with England is the ultimate dream, but winning a National on the Trent with Barnsley is a very, very close second. So it just really did push on, really made me believe that, you know, having a great year, team fishing really means a lot to me. And that was backed up by us winning the Commercial Champs later that month to do the treble. You know, we had, when you bear in mind that, you know, Angling Trust run 3 competitions in a year for teams, and we won all 3. I was absolutely over the moon with that. You know, just proves how strong a squad we've got. I can tell you now, the anglers really are fantastic, and I was really pleased to have a good year myself, fishing all those events, which was nice as well. So, you know, that took us on nicely. Had a nice weekend at Evesham. Had a lovely weekend at Evesham actually. Terrible first day, strangely enough. Couldn't catch anything. Fished for barbel too much. Second day I sat down, I thought, no, I'm just going to fish for roach, I'm just going to enjoy myself and hopefully sneak in. And I managed to frame and was, you know, I got in the top 5, which was a brilliant result to frame in that company. And I backed that up with a 4th place the next day. And the team, we were very unlucky not to win that actually. Dennis White had a shocking peg and beat 1 angler. I don't even know if he beat one, and the rest of the lads were 1st, 2nd, 3rd and 4th in their sections, which was a tremendous team score. It was just a shame that Dennis didn't have a better peg. I mean, Dennis has probably been our most consistent performer on that river over the years, so I know that he's had a shocking draw there. So, you know, that's just one of those things. We obviously couldn't have won it, because I really don't think that anybody else would have scored any better off his peg. So that's the way it went. You know, but a good weekend to frame in 2 out of the 3 matches at Evesham. I always think is a great achievement, so I was really happy with that. The run was going well, you know, really continuing a good year. The only thing I was a little bit disappointed about was I didn't get a chance to fish the dreaded Knockout Cup, which had been kind to me in the past, and the UK Champs, which I've been kind to me in the past as well. Trouble is, you'll see with all the events I've been talking to you about there, you can't do everything. I couldn't enter those events. They clashed with the fishing for England, fishing for Barnsley, and you have to make a decision. You know, team fishing isn't always looked upon in the right light, I think, by some of the publications. I think they like to, you know, big up the individual events, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that. But, you know, for me, it'll always be team fishing first, and then I'll do some individual events in the time around that. So, which I've been fortunate enough to qualify for Maven Match this and sat down in the final. I was really disappointed in the final of Maven Match this. I think you can gauge from what I've just said for the last, you know, up until that point, my year had been absolutely fantastic. I really couldn't knock it at all. I went in with a plan. I was very aggressive with my approach, and it didn't work. It's as simple as that. The lake fished very, very hard. Surprises me for the end of August, but it fished very, very hard. I think my approach would have been very good if it had been a good, you know, very good fishing match, but couldn't get bites. Chris Cameron next to me was a lot more negative. He was definitely on a better peg than me. I know that for a fact because the island sheltered my peg from all the wind. However, I could have done a lot better than I did had I have taken a more negative approach like he did. So I think that'll be worth remembering for the future. That was a bit of a disappointment after everything going so well, but that led me into going out to the World Champs of England to help out in Croatia, which was disappointing for the team, but what a unique experience. I've never ever seen a body of water like it in my life. You know, I'm talking about water that is moving so fast that bridge stanchions are parting the waterways behind them. It's just unbelievable body of water, and you know, I think if I went back again tomorrow and was asked to fish, I wouldn't know what to do. So it was quite a difficult venue, that one, and I'm not surprised that they didn't come out on top. The Dutch obviously had that sorted. They won it, you know, both days. Brilliant for them. So pleased for the Dutch. Jan van Schendel's one of the nicest men you can meet in fishing. So he's a manager. I was really, really pleased for them. So that was a good event. That took me on to Whiteacres for the Preston Innovations Festival. It's the one where definitely all the best commercial anglers in the country come down and fish, because there is a big money final at the end of the week. The goal is to get in the top 24. If you can get in the top 24, you'll be sitting down in the final with a chance of winning the match. That's always my goal. I had a fantastic week. Fantastic week. Obviously, it's quite recent now, so you probably know. I had 5 section wins, which is a perfect score. I was the only person to do that and win the festival. So pleased to. I've always wanted to have 5 section wins in one of those festivals. I have won festivals before. With 4 wins, but never had that 5 wins. So really, really pleased to do that in that company. Really was. I was really, really happy with that, and lovely to win the festival and obviously qualify for the final. We're again a bit disappointed. Decided to fish with the pole. My peg was completely overgrown. There was nowhere to chuck a feeder. And Jamie, who was next to me, had a nice place to chuck a feeder, although I still didn't fancy it to be very good. You know, the match is fished hard. He has fished an immaculate feeder match and had the break late on with some big fish, which is won in the match. So it's nice to really watch firsthand how it's won. I know that I can win those events. I have won that event before. I did. You know, I fished the pole nicely, to be fair. And if I'd have had somewhere to cast my feeder, had there been some maintenance done on the island, I think it could have been very dangerous. Some pole fish early and some feeder fish later on. I think I would have had a real chance of winning that event. So a little bit disappointed that I didn't have somewhere to cast, but that's the way it goes, I suppose. You know, so as you can see, I mean, up until that point, it's been great. And then coming back, I travelled to France for the Census final. That was a great week. We came 6th, managed to win my section on the second day at a peg with no opportunity to do anything the first day, but that's the way it went. We had a great comeback score, just missing out on top European team by half a point to Starlet, so that was good for them. Didn't mind missing out by half a point when we'd had the luck in a couple of other events earlier in the year, but you can tell just how close these events are and how close fishing is, to be honest. A lot of my results all year, ever so close, all the time. All these little things, a fish swung in, a fish that drops off, a missed bite, that can be the difference between winning or losing. So try and make all those count. Really try and make all those things count, and you're going to have a lot better chance of finishing with a great result. So it's taken me into the winter time really now, and you know, I've had a nice, really enjoyed going on the Staney, Hayfield Lakes and Lindo for the last few weeks. You know, and obviously the Polpes last weekend, which was absolutely great, with a fantastic catch of roach. My last match of the year, really, you know, to come second in that match and just miss out with Joe as a pair was a great result. So, I mean, you know, looking back, a great year, learnt a lot as always. That's what keeps me going, really. You know, if you're struggling for enthusiasm in your own fishing, the one thing I can always say is try to give yourself something. Try to take something from every match. Try to learn something from every match. Because if you can do that, if you can learn and progress and, you know, build on something, you'll get results. Even if you get a result, don't walk in the pub thinking you're the bee's knees. Just try and think about your result, think why you won on that day, and how you could have been better still. I can tell you now, I've not had a single match this year where I've caught the most fish I could, and no person in Britain has. I refuse to believe it. You can always do better, and I think that attitude is what helps push people on. So that's my review of the year. Really interesting. Can't wait for 2015. Some great things ahead. And if it's anything like 2014, I'll take it right now. Alright, thanks very much. Bye.